So these are 4 of my favourite non-plated daily trainers of this year, but how do they compare? So after recently purchasing the Asics Noosa Tri 16 and really comparing it to the Brooks Hyperion Max, I thought it would make a great comparison video. But then I thought, what about my favourite daily trainer of the year so far, the Hoka Mach 6? What about that one? Where does that fit in? And then of course we've recently tried the Adidas SL2, so I thought I'd make one big video. And the interesting thing is, in a UK size 13, all of these shoes are within 38 grams of each other. 2 of the shoes I find extremely similar, and 2 of them have exactly the same drop. So there's good comparisons to be made here. And so what we'll do is we'll dive straight in and compare the Noosa Tri 16 to the Brooks Hyperion Max. We'll then move this one out and bring in the Hoka Mach 6. And finally, we'll compare the Noosa Tri to the Adidas SL2. So let's get started. Now, these are the 2 that I alluded to earlier, which are the 2 that I find very similar. The main difference between these 2 really is the fact that we have an 8mm drop in this shoe and a 5mm drop in this one. So we're talking about 34mm of stack in the heel, 26 in the forefoot to make that 8mm heel to toe drop. And in this one we've got 33.5, so we're half a mil different in the heel to 28.5 in the forefoot, meaning we've got a 5mm heel to toe drop in this one. And these are also the lightest shoes out of these 4, so we're talking 270 grams or 9.5 ounces and 279 grams or 9.8 ounces, so 0.3 of an ounce or 9 grams, I was trying to do my maths then, difference between these 2 shoes, meaning they are both the lightest, and you really can feel it in hand. They are both super lightweight. Now, where I found the big similarity with these shoes really was the aggressive rocker. So what these 2 offer is a very smooth transition when you're running through your gait cycle. This foam is indeed slightly firmer than this foam. I do find this foam in the Noosa Tri 16 to be relatively firm. It is on the firmer side, but it's not quite as firm as the Brooks Hyperion Max. So what I've said in my previous videos on this one and on my extra channel when I've done my speed session in the shoe is that if you like the Brooks Hyperion Max but don't mind something slightly softer, then the Noosa Tri is going to be a great option for you. I find that both of these rockers here at the front, the way that they curl up, they just roll you through nicely. It was always a massive standout feature for me in the Brooks Hyperion Max. You have such a lovely roll through sensation, but you wouldn't get that if the foam was super soft, because what you get with the super soft foam is you get more of a sink and a bounce sensation. With these shoes, both of them, you get much more of a roll through, which I know some of you guys prefer and some of you guys don't, but that's where the massive similarity with these 2 strike. I do feel like if we're nitpicking and we're being really finicky with some of these details here, I do prefer the tongue on the Brooks Hyperion Max. Just that padding there on the top is just enough. Even though this is a lighter shoe, it does have a little bit more on the tongue than this one here. And otherwise, I prefer the heel counter in the Brooks Hyperion Max. It just kind of flares away from the heel a little bit, whereas this one curls in. But it really is really tiny details. I'll be honest with you, I actually prefer the general upper on the Noosa Tri. It's a little bit softer on top of your foot. It's a little bit stretchier. This one here can be slightly coarser, not too much room for kind of stretch it. Like it's worked really well for me, but it doesn't mold to your foot. Your foot kind of fits in there. This one, I feel, wraps the top of your foot, hugs it nicely. The other small detail is this is indeed a gusseted tongue in the Noosa Tri, whereas this is not. But again, I've never, in the 2 pairs of Hyperion Max I've owned, have had any issues with the tongue, because there's a section at the bottom of the tongue there you can feed the laces through, and it holds the tongue nice and straight. It doesn't slide from side to side. So really, you are looking at 2 very similar shoes. Now, I know a lot of you have said, try the Hyperion 2. Yes, it's on my list to get. I will get round to it at some point, but I was really curious about the Noosa Tri 16. You guys have been recommending this since previous versions, like version 12, 13, 14. And I'm just delighted to finally get my feet in them. So I think what I would like to say to all of you guys out there, in terms of comparisons here, these are very similar shoes. You can see there, both with nice aggressive curl ups at the end, so you just roll through nicely. Such a wonderful feeling. If you're used to this, you'll enjoy this. If you found this slightly too firm, this might be the ticket for you. But how does it stack up against my favorite daily trainer of the year so far, the Hoka Mach 6? Love this shoe. Over 200 miles in it now. Is this going to take this crown? This is pretty darn good. So it's going to be interesting when we've got more miles in it, how it stacks up. First noticeable difference, the weight. And it's really surprising because the Mach 6 is one of those shoes that comes in my UK size 13 under 300 grams. For me, in my size, that's quite a big deal. Any shoe under 300 grams is a big win in my book. 297 grams for this one, or 10.4 ounces. So let's just remind ourselves, 279 grams, so that's an 18 gram difference, or 9.8 ounces there. So 18 grams between the two shoes. Both these shoes have a 5mm heel to toe drop. So that's the similarity between these two. You've got more stack height in the Mach 6 to the Noosa Tri. We're talking about 37 in the heel, 32 in the forefoot. So we're getting up much closer to a more plush cushion daily trainer experience in this one. This one is much more kind of, well, still extremely cushioned, but it's much lighter and it feels like it can really turn over nicely. So just a reminder there, 33.5 in the heel, 28.5 in the forefoot. So a lower stack, but I have done an easy run in the shoe now and absolutely loved every second of it. And for me, the definition of a daily trainer has definitely changed over the years. It's something that you can just pick up and do anything in. Versatility is key, and that's what this shoe offered in abundance, and that is exactly what this shoe offers in abundance too. So unlike the Brooks Hyperion Max, this is not an aggressive rocker. You can see there is a gentle rocker here, but is not quite as aggressive here. So what you don't get with the Max 6 is that lovely kind of roll through sensation. This is definitely more of a sink and a bounce sensation. You do get that lovely glide through your stride. That's something that Hokas are kind of renowned for. I've always felt they've been really good at, but you don't get it as much as you do in the Noosa Tri and the Brooks Hyperion Max. Now, whether that's because I'm not running quite as fast or want to run quite as fast in the Max 6, I don't know. I'm going to put a question mark over that. But I find now that I've done an easy run in this shoe and was kind of mentally taking notes, I've done enough easy runs in this one here, I kind of found that still I find this shoe wants to move me quite fast when I'm on those easy days. Super cushioned, super comfortable, enough stack height in here to kind of absorb everything and still feel really good. But this one does it better in terms of the easy days. I feel like the more cushion you have in this shoe, it just offers you much more protection. However, I do find this one to be really good, and naturally this one is going to be better on those speedier days. So I kind of feel like there are some similarities here and some differences. And then finally, how does it stack up to the Adidas SL2? I've got both the left shoes here. So we're talking about 308 grams in this shoe, or 10.7 ounces, compared again to the 279 grams, or the 9.8 ounces. So it's nearly an ounce heavier, but again, we're only just over the 300 gram mark in this shoe. I was really pleasantly surprised, and I won't keep repeating myself. You've probably seen the SL2 videos that I've done. Couple of teething issues, all sorted now, mainly just down to sizing and stuff. I have taken out the insole in the shoe. That sorted everything out for me, and I'm now enjoying this shoe a lot more. Got a couple more runs in it since the last video, so it is performing really well. The main difference between these two shoes, and you really do notice it more so than in the Brooks Hyperion Max, because we were talking about a 5 and an 8mm drop in that shoe. This is a 9, and we're talking about 36mm to 27mm heel to toe drop there. And you do notice it does feel more prominent when you are running, especially when you're running fast in this shoe. I did a really fast workout in this one. And I did really notice that I was you do notice that bigger drop in this shoe. A couple of people commented on my previous video about this shoe. With the 5mm drop, do you not feel like it's quite so aggressive? I genuinely didn't notice it that much. I do find personally that my sweet spot is around that 6mm drop, so a 5 is pretty decent for me. I do find it good. I do notice though, what that does is that does heighten my senses when I'm in something like an 8, 9 or a 10mm drop. I did find this very similar to the Brooks Hyperion Max, I'll be honest with you. For whatever reason in this shoe, I do notice the drop more. I really appreciate the cushioning. I think what this shoe does really well out of everything, because Adidas sizing can just be so hit and miss with me. But Lightstrike Pro, which is what you'll find within this shoe, a full length of it encased within the sort of carrier foam, the Lightstrike EVA. The blend between the two here, it works so well. It's such a great combination, and that is this shoe's standout feature. That is a really, really sort of high scoring feature, shall we say. You know, out of everything of this shoe, that is the big win. That is what makes this shoe really, really decent, or I find it anyway, and I found it more so when I picked up the pace. Now, as I keep saying, I'll go back to it, this does not feel like the Brooks Hyperion Max or the Noosa Tri, where you have that aggressive rocker. This does not have an aggressive rocker. As you can see, if I hold it that way, it's much more of a flatter profile shoe. Some people like it, some people don't. I must be honest with you, I do prefer the shoes that have these aggressive rockers on them, more so for those long run workouts, more so for those longer runs where I'm putting a bit of speed into something but still want some comfort. I'm not looking for this type of rocker. I use the Kinvara 14s, 15s, 16, whatever version I'm on at the moment. I use those for my short, sharp workouts. But when I'm running long, when I want something that's going to go the duration, I need comfort, but I also need something that's a bit aggressive. And one of the things I find when they've got shoes with a geometry like this, where you don't quite have that aggressiveness, I do kind of find that I feel like I'm being a bit flat-footed towards the end of the run. And that's me as a runner. That's not reflective of the shoe. That's just me as the runner. I can probably do with all the help I can get when it gets towards that 2-hour mark in a long run. But to be honest with you, I got to say, cushioning and this shoe is absolutely fantastic, but between these ones, honestly, already I'm going to say the Noosa Tri absolutely gets the nod. And I feel like these 4 shoes are all really worthy contenders and definitely all comparable in their own ways. And the reason being, I feel like training methods over the years have definitely changed. Science has brought training forward. And for me, what that effectively means is I feel like a lot of people are not just doing the 80-20 rule anymore, especially myself. I do a lot of zone 2 steady running. And for me, if I'm doing zone 2 steady running, I don't want to be running in big, bulky, clunky shoes that are quite heavy. It's just not enjoyable. I want something that's got the cushion. I want something that has got nice comfort, but can move fast as well. And so I do tend to gravitate towards those lighter shoes. And so these 4, all within 38 grams of each other and all being on that lighter end of the spectrum, are all very, very good comparable shoes. It really does then come down to obviously yourselves and myself with preference in terms of drop. I've got 2 in there that are 5mm drop. I've got the Brooks Hyperion Max that's an 8, and I've got the Adidas SL2 that's a 9. So when it comes to preferences over these 4 shoes, where would I put them in terms of a ranking? What would I prefer? Well, I'm going to say straight away, I feel like you could pair the Hoka Mach 6 or the Adidas SL2 with either the Brooks Hyperion Max or the Asics Noosa Tri. I feel like those 2 shoes, you could have a good pairing there. And the reason I say that is because I feel like the Hoka Mach 6 still for me is probably my favorite sort of easy, comfy day shoe where I can pick up the pace and go moderate if I want to, and it feels great doing that, incredible. And I just feel like that is still up there. I don't need so much that aggressive rocker when it comes to those easy days. And I feel like the extra stack height in that shoe combined with its lightweight nature just makes it a win-win package. If you take that shoe or the Adidas SL2, if the Adidas fits you well, with the Brooks Hyperion Max or the Noosa Tri, I feel like you've got a good win then, because then the Max or the Tri could definitely come in and take those longer efforts and those speed intervals. I've done so much speed work in the Max. I've now done 5x1K in the Noosa Tri. I feel confident to say both of those shoes can definitely do speed work well. So if you're looking for non-plated options, you could definitely get both of those and pair them nicely. If we talk specifically about the Noosa Tri and the Brooks Hyperion Max, all I'm going to say to you is if you like the Max but you don't mind something a little bit softer, and I'm talking marginally, the Noosa Tri is definitely something to consider. At this stage, it's too early for me to say that I prefer the Noosa over the Max or the Max over the Noosa. My gut tells me actually that I still would probably just edge the Max, but I haven't put enough miles or long run miles in to the Noosa Tri yet to really make that decision, and that will come over time. So watch this space. But yeah, if I'm honest with you, I could see myself with this one and either one of these 2. That would be my sort of good setup there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these shoes. Which ones of these 4 have you tried? What are your thoughts on them? Have you got the Noosa Tri? I know in my previous video, a lot of you said you got previous versions, and I know a lot of them are on discount now, especially the 15. You can get them for a really good price. I'd love to hear, especially if you've tried these 2 shoes, and which one you prefer. For me, 2 pairs of these, over 400 miles in the first pair, 350 odd in the second. So plenty of catching up for this one to do. But this one really does have a bright future. And honestly, guys, I keep saying it, these are some of the best daily trainers that I have tested out this year. I know the Max Max isn't this year, but the other three are, and I've got to say, they are absolutely stellar. We've been spoilt this year, I think. I've tested a lot of shoes over the years, but I have found that there's only been one shoe this year, the Nike Pegasus 41, where I've really not got on with it too well. Otherwise, a lot of the shoes this year have been absolutely top notch, and I feel very lucky to be making this video and share these shoes with you. Anyway, that's it from me, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these shoes. Please do drop a comment below. Have you compared any of them? Which ones do you prefer? And of course, it's always useful for you to drop your mileage down there to let people know how the shoes are getting on after a long period of time. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.